Hi, everybody. Welcome to Bookies. I'm Bear. You know, when you're a small channel, you tend to kind of look to see if you've added any subscribers or how many views the video is getting. So I really appreciate the fact that you're watching the video. I do check for new subscribers and views every day, which is kind of crazy. You have reached the only YouTube channel that, when monetized, will give 100% of the proceeds to local libraries and literacy programs. It was kind of my hope to turn something that is social media into a real positive thing that'll last a very long time. So if that sounds good to you, please subscribe. Today, we are going to talk about the second book in the Hierarchy series, The Strength of the Few by James Islington. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I did not read the first novel in the series, The Will of the Many. And you're probably wondering why. Well, I was just kind of tired of playing catch up after a long career where in my job I read all day. It just kind of killed reading for pleasure for many, many years. And I just decided I want to read something that on the day that it's published. Just get started and enjoy something new and fresh. And I also kind of wanted to do a little bit of an experiment. I've never just jumped in the middle of a series before, and I was just kind of curious how easy it would be to catch up. As you know, when you read the succeeding novels in a series, the author generally tries to do a serviceable job of catching the reader up on what's happened prior. And so my little experiment was, well, how well does Islington do that? And he does pretty well. My recommendation to everybody else is read the first book. And the reason that is the plot and the sheer amount of characters and the fact that the author kind of splits up the time between three different worlds makes this novel rather complicated. And, fear not, it was fairly easy for me to catch up, but I think the reading experience would have been a little bit more enjoyable if I had read the first novel. So don't be me. Don't do that. Read The Will of the Many first, then read Strength of the Few. And so overall, I'm going to tell you, you definitely want to read this novel. It's excellent. And I want to give you a little bit of practical help, which I didn't realize because I read the novel on a Kindle. And maybe if I had the book itself, I would have discovered this. But at the back of the book is an appendix of all the characters, all the places, all the things that are unique to this particular series, and they're explained in a very brief summary. So if you're reading this and you're getting confused by the plot or, who is that character exactly, just reference the back of the book and it'll really help you read this novel and kind of keep things straight. So I'm going to start with a very brief plot description that is really not a spoiler at all because I don't want to spoil this novel for you. Here we follow the main character, Vase, as he struggles with a dangerous secret that could change the course of history across three separate worlds. And a different version of Vase will appear in Obedium, Luceum, and Res. And so you've got three different bodies in three different places, all the same person. This has to find answers to stop an upcoming cataclysm. It happens regularly throughout the history of the world, and time has come due, so he needs to kind of hurry and figure out what's what. The cataclysm is expected to destroy about 90% of the population. Because he is uniquely present in all three worlds, he's synchronist. He is the only one that can really stop the cataclysm. So that's the general thrust of the novel and the purpose that's driving the novel forward. First, if you love fantasy, I don't think it's possible for you to not like this novel. The plot device of being in three different worlds is very interesting. The author does such an excellent job of being descriptive about the three different worlds, Vis's purpose in each, and it just magnifies the scope of the novel. It makes it more complex, but Islington does a pretty serviceable job of kind of explaining things to the reader so you can understand what's going on. I also really enjoyed the concept of will. For lack of a better phrase, will is life force. And in Islington's world, individuals can cede a portion of their life force to another. And that makes the person that receives will much stronger, kind of superhuman. And the more you get, the stronger you are. And so if you're higher up on the social hierarchy, you receive more and more will. It makes you more powerful. And frankly, it gives you an unfair advantage over those that are in lesser strata of society. The other thing is will can be imbued into objects and then the object used, which gives the wielder of the object even more strength. So I really like this unique idea that Islington's come up with. Essentially, the whole society is built upon the notion of will. Who gets it, who sees it. What I found most interesting about the whole concept of will is what it does to society. By definition, it's going to make society hierarchical, whereby lesser persons increase the status, health, and life force of those in power greater than them. And society accepts this lie in Islington's novel that will can only be given freely. And that's perhaps the greatest lie of the hierarchy. This obviously forces notions of manipulation and exploitation of the poor, and it creates tensions in society, which are going to be a problem in this series. And therefore, Islandton's giving us a little bit about social commentary because even though we don't have something, quote unquote, magical like will in our world, we do have hierarchical structures in our governments. And it's a little bit of a commentary, so I appreciated that. The next thing is that these characters are really well crafted, particularly the main character, Viz. They're real, and the reader can relate to them. There's only a couple archetypes where, there's like one facet to the individual's personality, and that's all you see. And those are generally characters that represent the hierarchy. And that's okay, this is a very long novel, and if he tried to flesh out and make the personalities of every single character multifaceted like people are, then this novel would have been probably 400 pages longer. I appreciate the fact of the use of archetypes so you can focus on the main characters and flesh them out and give them personality. Because this novel is written from the first person perspective of Vis, we learn a lot about him as a young man. He's confident, but he also feels inadequate. He's brave, perhaps to a fault, but due to his youth, he kind of can be manipulated. He's generous with his friends, even those who have done him great harm. He feels lost keenly. He feels guilt. He's trusting, but perhaps to a fault. And I think we all share these kinds of qualities to various degrees, and I think that's what makes Vis relatable. The characters closest to Vis are also very well crafted and fully fleshed out, fully human, and I really appreciated that. Islington has created an excellent world, or three worlds, and has populated each with characters that readers will either love or hate. And I love that. And Islington has also pulled another bit of a fast one. He's really done something where he's crafted a unique thing. The living dead, the Yungtai. And, when you have living dead, most people would just turn them into ghouls. And that's not what Islington does here. They retain a substantial portion of the personality. They're thinking, they're intelligent. And essentially, you would not be able to differentiate the living from the dead in most cases, except the dead, of course, don't have a heartbeat. Still, this is a half-life. These souls don't go to heaven as they would know it in Islington's world. And they exist solely as a means to serve the living. It's a really nice twist. The dead live, but they remain substantially as they were in life, but they're still half-formed because they lack free will in most cases. Lastly, the primary plot device of trying to figure out what's causing the cataclysm, identifying the cause, meaning the God-man, Is he man? Is he God? Ka. And killing that individual is advanced quite well in this novel. Notice I use the word advanced. You're not going to get resolution on that main plot line until the third novel, whenever it gets published, and I hope that's soon. The idea of having your main character be responsible for saving the world is certainly not unique in literature, and particularly in fantasy, but Islington does a really good job with that standard trope. First, it's really well thought out, really well narrated, and the quest makes sense. And this entire book advances that plot in an interesting way. Granted, this novel exceeds 700 pages, so if you don't like long books, this is not for you. But I will tell you that the novel never drags, it never lulls. The reader will always stay interested in what's going on in this novel. It is the kind of novel that you get excited about picking up again. And so for that reason, I'm going to give this novel 4.5 stars out of 5. You're not going to be disappointed if you jump into this series. Start with the first book, though. Don't be me. Right about now, you're going to see a little circle with me and my naval officer days. And if you click on that, it'll allow you to subscribe. Please do so. Let's build this channel and let's get money flowing to good purposes that support our shared hobby. With that, God bless. Have a great day.